Hey riders, welcome to another video in our adventure motorcycle training series. I'm Eric Lang with Ride Adventures. I've been guiding and riding motorcycle tours around the world for over 10 years now, and today I want to show you the first 6 investments you should make to get the most out of your adventure motorcycle. So you've either already made or you're about to make a considerable investment in buying your adventure bike. Let's talk about the next money you might want to spend after that to make sure you're getting the most out of your bike. Using my 2012 BMW R1200 GS Adventure, a bike that was never part of our rental operations, but just my personal bike that I don't want to get rid of because it's been properly fitted for me and my stature, and I just love the way it's set up right now. And that's perhaps the point here, is that if you get a bike set for you and your ergonomics and what you want to do with it right to begin with, you'll have that bike and want to keep it for a long time and get a lot out of it. So the first investment I suggest making is in your suspension. So the frame and the fork angle and the rake and the trail and everything involved here is set up and designed originally from the manufacturer to work in a specific function. And if you are too heavy for the springs that are on your bike, you can be altering the geometry with which it flows. That alters again the fork angle, your rake and your trail, and how you're absorbing hits and bumps and imperfections in the terrain that you're on. So take the time to get that and make the investment to get your suspension set and dialed in for your needs, and I promise you will get the best handling and the best use out of your bike. So another great investment to make in fitting yourself to your bike and getting the most out of it is the handlebars. Maybe what the bike comes with is already going to be perfect for you. Maybe the simple pivot adjustments that you can make with the factory screws and bolts is just enough, but consider maybe replacing the handlebars. Maybe you want a more narrow grip, a different angle, something a little bit wider, something like that. Or in the case of actually wanting to be in a better standing position, a lot of us want handlebar risers. So like these Rox Speed FX bar risers are, I still think, just the best and most adjustable option out there on the market. You utilize your existing motorcycle's mounts to raise into a different position and add all sorts of extra pivot points that you don't have from factory. So, and that allows you to, again, make sure that you're getting your arms into a comfortable position. You want a little bit of downward angle like this so that the blood continues to flow down to your hands, helps you maintain contact, avoid that buzzing vibration feeling through your hands, and also keeps your hands a little bit warmer if you're riding in cold situations by having, again, just a slight downward angle to the grips. And then with all of this, and whether you're talking about long arms, you want to pivot forward or backward or whatever it is, also these bar risers allow you to get into the best standing position, which might be good. So seated, I'm good and I'm comfortable, but then if I want to go standing, I feel like I'm already still with my knees slightly bent in a pretty good athletic position. I can keep a little arm bend there, it's got good control. And again, versus having hands down lower or something like that, or hands too far forward. It all works together. Just take the time and spend a little extra money to get this fit for you, and you'll see the results. So another best investment to make in your bike would be the handlebar levers, your clutch on the left and your front brake on the right. You know, maybe you have different gloves and thicknesses and temperature considerations, and you have different sizes of padding built into these knuckles and everything like that. Think about the levers. Did your bike's original levers come with any adjustability? Are they going to be able to consider that sometimes, you know, whether you're braking with 2 fingers or 1, which is another topic, can you completely close the brake and pull it all the way in enough so that you can stop the bike in an emergency? Or are the thicknesses of your knuckles and gloves going to stop the lever from traveling in as far as it needs to up against the handlebars? So if your bike, again, doesn't have the adjustability to change the throw of the lever like that, that would be one reason to buy levers. And then even once you have whatever levers you're going to end up going with on your bike, make sure that they're adjusted to the right angles so that you're comfortable, you're able to reach over them and not get caught up when you have to extend out and grab them in a hurry. It should be probably mostly good for when you're in the seated position, but also in a lever position so that you can ride it when you're in a standing position as well. You know, your forearm angle changes, everything changes when you're in the standing position. So make sure you've got your levers adjustable if they aren't already, and in the right position to work with all the demands you're going to put on your bike. So another important contact point, of course, between you and your motorcycle is your feet. The foot pegs that your feet are resting on, that you're standing on, and the shift levers involved with braking and shifting gears. So most manufacturers are putting these bikes out there with some decent adjustability already available to you in terms of elevating and lowering the angle of the shift or the brake lever. So you can work within those, or maybe if you want to, look at aftermarket options that allow you a greater range of movement to make it work within your riding boot size, especially if you have a full motocross boot like I tend to wear when riding. It can be hard to fit that underneath the shift lever for pulling up and shifting. So one like this from Wunderlich that actually extends out and gives you a little bit more room is a good idea. You want to be able to get that shift lever into a position also that you can do it while you're standing, not just sitting, but if you're in a standing position, being able to shift while standing and not having to sit just to shift gears. Pretty nice to be able to do that. So the foot pegs themselves, again, some bikes come with some pretty good girthy wide foot pegs to begin with. Other bikes come with, you know, pretty lousy, maybe rubber only, really narrow and skinny foot pegs. If you're going to spend any time standing on your bike, having a wider foot peg is going to add up to less stress on the arch of your foot as you're in that standing position for a longer time. So, you know, adding a wider foot peg, or even one like pivot pegs, and I think some other manufacturers make one that actually articulates and rolls with your foot as you're, you know, changing riding positions, ascending and descending hills, that can add up to greater comfort over a longer riding day. And so there are multiple options available to you if the originals don't work well for your situation, but make sure your feet are comfortable, make sure you can articulate and activate your controls efficiently and avoid misshifts and things like that. So all part of important safety riding points. So another really important contact point with how you work with your motorcycle is, of course, the seat. Now, perhaps you enjoy yours, you're comfortable, and it's just right for doing a long day's ride or multi-day adventure, but in all the dinner conversations I've had on tour with folks over the years, myself included, most of us agree that the original seats from these manufacturers are not quite meant for the job. So they're too soft is generally what we say. By being too soft, you end up using the soft tissues of your butt and the back of your legs instead of the framework, the sit bones, those pelvic bones that are better on a hard surface and stay sort of on top instead of, again, getting mushed up with the seat and everything. So be your own judge on that. If you like your seat, stick with it. Hopefully it's one that comes with some adjustability like this one. You have two positions in the front and the back that you can change the overall height and angle of the seat. There are aftermarket options like the wooden beads, there's sheepskins, there's air bladders you can buy. There's all sorts of things to possibly augment your existing seat, but you might want to also look into the aftermarket seat manufacturers. I think most often you will find that they make a firmer seat than what your bike might have originally come with. And then also think about the width of the seat. Do you want maybe a wider seat, which might be more comfortable in addition to being firmer? Wider might also, though, mean that you're a little more limited in being able to use your legs if you're getting into off-road situations and terrain where you might want to be putting your foot down. It's also, the wider a seat is, it changes your inner leg curve and your ability to reach the ground. So consider all these points before changing out your seat. Again, maybe the one you have is just fine, but it is ultimately an important point of contact between you and your bike in terms of comfort, safety, performance, ride and enjoyment overall. So maybe your motorcycle actually came with luggage, doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be right for your situation. You know, whether you're going to be a solo rider or with a passenger on the back, there's a lot to consider. And, you know, also whether you're going to have hard case luggage or soft bags. So, you know, some of the soft bag systems won't work with a passenger. Some do. You know, they have soft bags that actually mount just like the hard cases do on the side right now. But you know, with a passenger, of course, you'll want to consider whether they want a backrest. Most passengers do, especially for a long ride. So having a duffel bag or something strapped across the back can serve as a good backrest. Having a top case actually works as a really nice backrest, but top case is generally smaller than the amount of luggage you can fit into a duffel bag. One really important safety point to consider with all this is not allowing yourself to get wedged or trapped into the bike. So if you're like me and you always ride with a backpack or hydration pack on your back, and then you start to add the other luggage pieces that you want behind you, you can end up looking or feeling actually a little bit trapped into your bike. And this was a mistake I had made early on in my adventure riding career, so to speak. Fortunately, nothing bad ever did happen, but if it did, or if it does happen to you, a crash or some reason you need to get away from your bike in an instant, it would be better to have some breathing room behind you. Don't have so much stacked up behind you, including a fixed item like a top case, such that you might be trapped to the bike, again, in the case of an emergency and needing to get away or off and away from 500 plus pounds of metal and steel and rubber and plastic. So a lot of options out there. We've got other great reviews on motorcycle adventure gear, specifically comparisons of hard cases versus soft, and you might want to look at that, but consider altering what might have already come with your bike and choose what's best for you. One more important point to consider, of course, are your tires. So maybe the tires that your bike came with are already perfect for the type of riding that you're going to be doing. You know, a lot of them that these adventure bikes coming out of the showrooms come with what we call an 80-20 tire, meaning it's supposed to be about 80% of the time on the pavement, 20% in the dirt. You know, if you like the trips that we put together, the routes we design, sometimes it's more of a 50-50, half and half dirt and pavement situation. So you want maybe a more aggressive tread pattern, and so you have that option. You know, choose the tire that's going to be the most appropriate for the type of terrain you're going to get into. There are countless other reviews, and we'll be doing more as well as far as which tires we like. You know, this is a Heidenau K60 Scout. It's been absolutely great for us in places like Patagonia, here in Oregon, serving us well. So along with the tread pattern and, you know, the average use of what you're going to be using your bike for, it's also thinking about where you're going in the world. So if you're heading into countries where, believe me, it can be very difficult to source tires for these big adventure bikes, you might want to choose not only a tread pattern that goes with what you plan to use the bike for, but a tread, a compound and a manufacturer and a design that actually gets the kind of mileage that you will need to get. Again, considering that sometimes some of these tires might only last a couple thousand miles for a rear tire, for example. Some of these, like the Heidenau's, you can get much greater mileage out of, and that can again be a real convenience for you to not have to be swapping out tires so frequently, or even having to carry an extra tire or two on the bike with you. So again, a fairly obvious point. It's kind of like, you know, picking the right shoes for the situation. If you're going out dancing versus playing sports, there's different options and points to consider, but tires will definitely, as a primary contact point between you and your motorcycle and the terrain below you, tires will definitely make a difference in how and what you are getting out of your experience with your adventure bike. So again, all the motorcycles that are being bought come out of the factory looking the same, but all of us as riders are not the same size with the same dimensions and overall physique and stature. Use these points and make your bike fit you ergonomically the best so you can get the most out of it and see more of this beautiful world. So thanks for watching. Come back for more videos. Feel free to like and subscribe, and we'll see you at the next video.